Hello fellow YouTubers, and today we're starting a new series. There's only 3 parts right now, but anyway, I call them the Connect videos. They'll probably labeled something different when it actually goes up, but the idea, it's sort of like a series on game theory, where they like connect all the characters in video games without using Super Smash Brothers. But I've kind of taken it and sort of modified it a little bit. So the idea for today is connect sitcom characters. Basically, I can use them as a connection link if they've starred with another person on that show. So, for example, on Freaks and Geeks, that's my starting point. Seth Rogen is on it. Well, Seth Rogen was also on Undeclared, which I know it's a cutoff, isn't it? Like a sequel. So of course he's on there. He's the only character, I believe, who was on both. But he's on there with Amy Poehler, I think that's how you pronounce her name. But she is on Parks and Recreation with Sarah Wright. She's on an episode of Men at Work with Danny Masterson, who was on Roseanne on one episode with Sarah Gilbert, who is a reoccurring character on Big Bang Theory, who plays alongside Kaylee Cuoco. I have no idea how to pronounce her name, but she is on 8 Simple Rules with Katie Seagal, who is in turn on Married with Children with David Faustino, who guest stars on an episode of American Dad with Seth MacFarlane, who of course is the guy who made American Dad, The Cleveland Show, and Family Guy. And on Family Guy, he stars alongside Seth Green, who, believe it or not, is on an episode of Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide with Darren Norris, who is on a lot of shows. I would definitely read his Wikipedia page if you got a minute. But he's on an episode of Veronica Mars with Kristen Bell, who was on an episode of The Cleveland Show with Mike Henry, who was on an episode of Scrubs alongside Sarah Chalke. I don't know if it's Chalk or Chalky. I always pronounce it Chalky because it means I know the E is there, basically. But she is on How I Met Your Mother alongside Bob Saget, who of course, as everybody knows, was on Full House with Candace Cameron, who is related to Kirk Cameron, but they also starred together on Growing Pains. Now, Kirk Cameron was on Touched by an Angel with Valerie Bertinelli, who is on Hot in Cleveland Now with Betty White. But Betty White was on an episode of The Simpsons with Dan Castellaneta, who was on an episode of Reba with Christopher Rich, who of course was on Melissa and Joey with Melissa Joan Hart, who was on Sabrina the Teenage Witch with Carolina Rhea, or Rhea, I think it's Rhea because there's an A there. But she is the mother on Phineas and Ferb with Ashley Tisdale, who was on Sweet Life on Deck with Cole and Dylan Sprouse, and I put them both there because if I do it individually, it would be an extra link I could do, but it'd be kind of pointless. Who was on an episode of That's So Raven with Raven Simone, who was on The Cosby Show with Bill Cosby, who was on A Different World with Sinbad, who of course had the Sinbad Show with T.K. Carter, and T.K. Carter appeared on an episode of Everybody Hates Chris alongside Terry Crews, was on Arrested Development with Will Arnett, who was on an episode of King of the Hill alongside Pamela Segal Adlon, who was on an episode of Facts of Life with George Clooney, who guest starred on Friends with Matt LeBlanc. Matt LeBlanc was on an episode of Married with Children with Ed O'Neill. Ed O'Neill was on 8 Simple Rules with Martin Spangers, who was on Malcolm in the Middle with Christopher Masterson, who is a main character on that 70s show, but on one episode Sam Levine guest stars, which takes us all the way back to Freaks and Geeks. And when the idea came to me, it was strictly for that ending part. Of course I started it backwards, because I was like, Sam Levine, again, look at his Wikipedia page, he has been in a lot. Like, it's kind of shocking, just sitcom wise, he's on a lot. But anyway, if you've enjoyed the video, leave me a like, comment, because honestly, I thought this was pretty surprising. When I started, I figured I could hit maybe 1, 6, 7 shows, and then I started, and it was like, holy hell, It was like, what show can I not connect this to? Of course, I only counted sitcoms, being as if I didn't, it would be way too open. And I don't know, I kind of like structure so I can get it back to its main point. Anyway, before I keep going too long, like, comment, subscribe, share, favorite, you know, all the good stuff you would do for any other YouTuber. And peace out, home skillets.